It will happen to you. You will run into a problem at the grocery store, and unfortunately it's going to involve an employee. Are you prepared to deal with that situation? I'm Brian, Instacart Bulldog, and hopefully my tip will lead you to better tips and better ratings and a better relationship and experience on your next shopping trip. Let's hit it! Again, thank you for watching this video, and to all the new subscribers, thank you again very much for joining me. I really appreciate that more than I'm able to say. I'm just not articulate enough on how much appreciative I am for all of you and for your comments as well. And I do want to kick off this segment with Joyce. She's an Instacart shopper of 2 years, and she commented on one of my recent videos. I can't believe I have to say this, and it was referring to stacking stuff in front of a door to prevent the customer from opening it. Well, it happened to her. So, Instacart shopper, she ordered something, and she sent me this picture. Yes, that shopper put a case of water right in front of her door. Unbelievable. And so many of you had commented saying, I can't believe you even had to say it. It's just common sense. But folks, there's just so many things that are lacking in this world. Common sense seems to be one of them. That's why I'm here. So Joyce, thank you very much for sharing that with us. I feel bad having to laugh at it, but what can I do? I mean, it was a miserable experience for you. Another thing that Joyce said too is that the shopper did not communicate with her at all, just went ahead and started replacing stuff with items she didn't want. She went into the app, told them, I want this item instead, and the shopper ignored it and went ahead with his or her original replacement, and it just was a whole mess that culminated with the case of water blocking her door. Ah, man. So as I begin today's video topic, I just want you to know that nothing that I say should reflect poorly on the company that I will mention in this, and in fact, to the contrary, should actually show what a great company they are and why it is a pleasure to shop there. One weekend recently, I had 2 bad experiences at different stores regarding a deli department employee. And it was very frustrating at the time, and it could have turned into a big mess with me, not only on a rating standpoint, but also literally a mess. So both cases involve Publix deli department. Now, I'm very happy that Publix and Instacart work together on getting the meats and cheeses sliced up and put out in a ready to pick up bin so that it saves us a lot of time at the counter. So it is a very efficient thing that Instacart instituted about a year ago, and it really does help a lot. But there are times when we still need to go to the counter to get particularly hot foods, rotisserie chicken, chicken tenders, any sides, any meals, things like that. So unfortunately, that system is not in place yet to be able to hold that kind of stuff aside. I guess they just don't have the real estate for that kind of stuff, but whatever. It's not that often that I have to do it, but boy, when I do, it can be a little stressful. Unfortunately, going to the deli counter is going to take about 10 or 15 minutes of your time. It just seems to me that nobody is in a particular hurry, and it does sometimes look like semi-disorganized chaos. Understand this, please. I'm not saying anything negative. I don't want to berate anybody. It's a tough department to work in. It is probably the hardest department to work in the entire store. It is very busy, it can be messy, and there's just a lot going on at any given time. So I know I've worked in a deli department before, in a small grocery store before I got into the supermarket business, and I know how busy and what hard work it is. So I understand that there's just a lot going on there at any given time. So you do need to bring a little bit of patience with you when you enter that line. or the lack thereof. So in case number one, I get to this deli counter and I'm waiting, and it is a solid 10-minute wait before somebody would help me. And it was getting late in the day. It was about 7 p.m. and this customer was about a half a mile up the road. Now, I always save hot items for last, and just like I save ice cream or even bags of ice to the very end of the order. So this customer had ordered a side of green beans. And so, this time of day, anything that's ordered from the deli counter, I'm going to be very nervous because, it could be out of stock and they're just not making any more at that time of night. So I walk up, I see green beans in the bin. Perfect. Good. I can get these. So I asked this guy, when the guy finally comes around to me, and I told him I needed, this much in green beans. He proceeded to get those paper boats, that usually French fries are served in. You get those cheese fries at the fair or whatever, in one of those things. And he started to put the green beans in there in these paper boats. Oh, what the heck are you doing? So I said something to him. I said, excuse me, is that for me? And he says, yeah. I said, that's not the kind of container that it should be put in. Oh, don't worry, I'll put it in a bag, it'll be fine. I said, no, shouldn't that be in those styrofoam cups? He said, no, this is just the way I do it. I said, but that's not correct. That's going to make a mess. And he said, you'll see. I said, okay, all right, whatever. He gets whatever it is that he's putting in there, and then I'm looking at it saying, this guy said, excuse me, seriously, are you going to do that? And he says, yeah, this is fine. I said, no, it's not fine. I want it in a styrofoam container. This is going to make a mess. And so he just ignored me, and then he put it inside a paper bag and put it up on the counter. I said, I'm not going to take that. I'm sorry. That is not acceptable. Can you please put that in a styrofoam container and wrap it in plastic? And he just looked at me and just took it back, and then he had to put it all back together. It took another 5 minutes for him to do whatever. I don't know what he was doing. And I said, you need more? He says, I had to throw some of it out because it was... I'm like, okay, whatever. I was literally, I wish I could have just walked away at that point. And there was another customer, he lost his patience. He was gone. Yeah, he was right behind me the whole time too, and he couldn't take it anymore. So he finally put it in the styrofoam cup, put it with the lid. I could tell the lid was not that secure on there. I just put it in the buggy and went up to the register. I said, I'll deal with it up there. I get to the register, fortunately, nobody in line. So I walk right up, start unloading on the belt. The cashier asks, hi, how are you today? And I'm like, do you really want to know? This is where, folks, you need to keep your composure throughout the whole thing. Before you unload on a total stranger, and before you just pop your top, she is an innocent victim here in all of this, right? So I just turned and I said, may I please speak to a manager? I have a problem that I need to complain about. She goes, okay, sure, no problem. And so she immediately called for her front-end supervisor. The front-end supervisor, which is usually within an ear or eye shot of any employee in the front end, she came over. She says, yes, sir, I'm sorry, I hear you have a problem. What can I help you with? I said, this guy at the deli department tried to give me these green beans in a paper boat inside a paper bag to deliver to a customer. I said, that is unacceptable. After a 10-minute wait and after a 5-minute ordeal of him dealing with it, this is what I got. Showed her the styrofoam container with a plastic lid. I said, this wasn't even wrapped in plastic like it's done with every other order I've ever gotten in this store and other store. And she's like, I'm shocked and I'm sorry. She says, I will have a talk with, do you know who the guy was? I gave her the employee's name, and she says, I am sorry, this should never have happened. We'll make sure that it never happens again. We will be coaching that particular person so that it is done right and up to our standards next time. And I'm sorry we fell short on meeting your standards and expectations, and that is not our standards and expectations, so we will do better next time. I said, thank you very much, I appreciate it. Case number 2 also involves the deli department. So I'm picking up an order that's ready for pickup. I had been shopping for 35 minutes on this customer's order. She ordered 1 thing of meat and 1 thing of cheese, and both said ready for pickup in the app. I go up to the pickup bin. There's only the cheese there, no meat. So I stand there. There's 1 person working behind the counter, and that's it. And I stood there for literally 5 minutes, totally ignored. My presence was never once acknowledged. Even though she looked right at me more than once, she never said anything and never asked what I needed. I got mad. I'm looking at the timer on the app. I said, that's it. I gotta go complain. I gotta go. So I went up to the courtesy booth, and then I said, may I please speak to a manager? I have a complaint about a deli department employee. And so they did. They paged the deli manager to the desk. The customer service rep said to the manager, hey, this guy's been waiting for a long time. Can you help him? Oh, sure. So then the manager comes to me and says, what can I do for you? And I explained to him what had happened. I waited there for 5 minutes. Never once was acknowledged. I was just totally ignored. And all I need is this 1 item. And I showed him the item in the app. He says, sir, I am so sorry that you experienced that. That should not have happened. Here, what is it that you need? I will get it for you. And I said, I need a half a pound of this, and I want sandwich cut on that too, because you can pull up the item details on a deli meat product. I'll have to show that to you in a different video sometime. So he quickly went, got the order. He was back in probably under 2 minutes. And again, he was very apologetic. And he says, I will have a talk with that employee. That should never have happened. That is not our standards. And I'm sorry you experienced that. He said, we will make improvements on this. He says, we are in the process of making some improvements in the department right now. And then he proceeded to volunteer some information about an experiment they had done this past weekend about having employees just do Instacart orders while others worked the front deli counter. And he says that worked quite well. And I viewed this as an opportunity to give him some positive feedback. And I said, yes. I said, that is a great idea. I said, I have seen that done in other stores, and it is pretty successful in all the other places that I see it. I will caution this, however, just make sure that as you have your employees working those Instacart orders in the back part of the room, that you have people at the front end so that they don't feel ignored, because it can be bad optics at the same time. So he listened, he thanked me for that, and he says, yeah, I just don't get out to the other stores, so I don't get to see how they do it. Thank you for sharing that with me. I said, well, I shop every store in Escambia and Santa Rosa County, so I see a lot while I'm out there. And we had a nice chat, and he said, look, if you have any other concerns, any other problems, just ask for me, and I'll take care of it for you. This is why I like to shop at Publix supermarkets for my Instacart orders, because their slogan is where shopping is a pleasure. And believe me, there have been many times that I could not have done my duty to the customers without some of these Publix employees' help. So they really are your best advocates. But even well-run organizations like Publix, that is extremely well managed and takes very good care of its employees, you're dealing with human beings at the end of the day, and human beings make mistakes, just like I do. So even though I have to make complaints once in a while, it comes from a good place in my heart, because I know that it's helping that company image overall. And the reason why I say that helps the company image overall is because they subscribe to the same customer service philosophy that I was trained in. When a customer complains, you stop and listen, because for every customer that complains, they're speaking for probably, and I can't remember if it was a dozen or several dozen or what. I can't remember those statistics, but there is a science behind, for every person that complains, they're speaking for a whole lot of others. And those whole lot of others that you don't hear from usually will just walk out the door and never come back again. I invite you to watch my video, How to Deal with an Irate Customer, so that you can learn some of the customer service skills that I have gotten and some of my experience that I've had to use out in the field when making Instacart deliveries. And I know at Publix, positive changes are often made in dealing with a complaint. I've seen it firsthand myself. I've had to do it. I refer to a story in one of my earliest videos, Relationships and Success. It's actually one of my least viewed videos, but I do hope you watch it. Maybe it's because of the title, maybe it's because of the picture on there. I don't know. I'm not a marketing genius. I'm just a shopper. Yes, I have broadcast experience. Yes, I have public relations experience. I just don't have the marketing experience. So, hey, what the heck, right? And a lot of times those relationships can build out of when you have to complain, particularly in the way that you complain. Let me give you some tips. Number one, whenever you have to make a complaint, keep your emotions in check. Yes, you want to be steaming mad. Yes, you want to vent out loud. But discretion is the better part of valor in a lot of cases. So what you do is you just got to keep telling yourself, keep your voice down, don't get too excited about it. You can express a lot just in your facial expressions and in your hand movements. People already know that you're not happy. Okay, they can read your body language. They already know you're not happy. By making a big loud noise, it doesn't do anybody any good, and it doesn't represent you or other Instacart shoppers very well. Number two, know who to talk to. In a lot of cases, you can handle a lot of complaints directly with that department manager. In public supermarkets, for example, every department has a portrait of the manager and the assistant manager. So when you're standing at the deli counter, take a look up and you will see a portrait of the deli manager as well as the assistant manager. It'll have their names and their titles underneath that. Same thing with the bakery department. Same thing with the meat department. Same thing with the produce department. Every department you will be able to find that manager's and assistant manager's picture and titles. So that may help you to more easily approach them. And if they're not available or not really immediately available, talk to somebody on the front end. The courtesy booth is a great place to start. Or if you're at that point where you can check out with whatever you've got, that's fine. You can also address it up there just like I did in my first case. And the other reason why I say know who to talk to, a lot of people just want to go directly to a store manager and they just want to go straight to the top. Let me tell you a little something about store managers. Store managers are great people and they want to help you. But a store manager may not have that same intricate knowledge of how a department is run like a department manager will. They may not know that employee. They may not know all the nuances in that department that may have led to this situation. Because if you complain to a store manager, he's just going to take it to the department manager. So dealing directly with that lower level as you can could have an even greater impact. Now, I'm not saying don't talk to a store manager if they're available. It's actually helped me a lot in one case, and I have a great relationship with them as a result of that. And yes, I have seen a change take place, and it has been for the better. Number three, again, stay calm, but stick to the facts only. Don't resort to name calling. Don't say, that person did this. Just say, I experienced this problem, this problem, this problem. I was standing there, I was ignored, and I did not get to finish whatever. Or I cannot finish whatever because nobody is willing to help me. And when you're explaining the situation, it may also be best to keep your voice at a lower level, because you don't know how many other employees are around that are within earshot of this conversation. And when the manager sees that you're trying to be respectful of that type of situational awareness, then they're going to understand and they're going to respect you even more. And number 4, assuming all the things that you complained about are resolved and that the future is brighter for customer service improvements as well as efficiency for the company, you also want to consider giving compliments when possible. For example, I did have to complain about a front-end employee some months ago, and fortunately about a week or 2 later, I got to give a compliment about an awesome employee at that same store in the front end who had done an absolutely amazing job unloading my buggy onto the belt, because I like to bag my own items and it was a very large order and I just couldn't do both at once. So I asked him if he could help me unload. He did. Not only did he put everything up on the belt exactly the way I would have, this guy had like more OCD than I did. It was amazing how he did it, and I was just floored by it. And he's always a pleasure to see at the store, and I always make a point to say hi to him. And yeah, he's I think one of their best workers. And that helps, because then those managers, because they see you every day, you may not think they see you, but they do. They recognize you. They know that next time you go to them for a problem or even a compliment, that is coming from a good place with you, so that any issues that come up, they can be more candid with you, and they are probably going to be more than likely to help you. Now again, I'm using Publix as an example. BJ's is also a great place. BJ's Wholesale Club has great customer service center philosophy as well. I've always been happy with them, always had great experiences in there. I don't know about the stores that you shop in. I know some are probably going to be better than others. One thing that I do as a customer, I do judge a company in how they react to such a complaint. There are some companies that I just will never ever do business with again any day in my life, and other companies that I wish I could never do business with ever again a day in my life, because the management is just so awful in dealing with complaints. It's a I don't care, we don't need you kind of philosophy. So I can understand if you have no desire to complain about anybody or anything, but sometimes it is helpful to the organization. As one of those managers said to me in that series of complaints from the weekend, he did thank me for complaining. He says, "I'm glad you said something, because otherwise we would never have known and not be able to make these improvements." And you know what? In both of those cases, it only took me a couple of minutes to do it. And one of them I did while I was checking out. I just kept moving throughout the whole checkout process. And the other time, it was just the amount of time it probably would have waited for somebody else to do the order. So really, it does not take up that much time if you're worried about that. I sure hope this video was helpful. I'd appreciate it if you give it a like, and I want to hear your experiences as well in similar situations. How have you complained, and how has it worked out for you? Especially, I like to hear about how it works in other stores. And be sure to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss more tips for bigger tips and better ratings. I'm Brian, Instacart Bulldog. Until next time, go get 'em!